season premiere of Undeniable this Wednesday on Audience at 8 Eastern Time, filmed in front of a live studio audience.
Yes.
The man who was interviewing Brett Favre on Wednesday night, as well as everybody else who sits on Undeniable, the Emmy Award winner multiple times over for Fox Sports, Joe Buck. Here, I'll reach around and...
Oh, we're doing it again.
Yes.
I'm
I'm
a
serial handshaker. I know, I'm a serial handshaker. How you doing, brother?
I'm great.
Good
it's
to
good to
see
see.
you.
It's so good to see. It's good to be here in person. Normally we're on the phone.
Yes, normally I'm bothering you on the phone.
Texting each other and making something happen no matter where I am.
No, I
drop it all for you.
You did gym, right? You
Gym.
You were rising and grinding with J.J. Watt
Yes,
one day.
One time I was at a strip joint I talked to.
Now, wait a minute.
You weren't aware of it.
That's a
where I was.
That's a different rise and grind. Right
It
there.
is.
Don't you think?
It is.
You know what I mean?
It is. That was one of my better interviews I've done with you. No, things are good, and I can't wait for this show to debut. It's fun for me to see that clip.
Yeah.
Because those things come so fast and furious. And the Favre one in particular was literally 3 hours long. So stuff happened within that.
Your sit down with him lasted 3 hours?
It's 3 hours. Maybe even over 3 hours.
For real?
Yeah.
And then you have to cut it down for...
They cut it down to an hour. So whatever didn't make it, there's got to be gold somewhere.
See, now, one of the many things I love about Favre was on display Saturday night for those who may not have known for whatever reason, which is, I would find hard to believe because over his 20 years, I could not imagine another athlete who put everything on his sleeve quite like Brett Favre as he was going through it. But we saw on Saturday night him just sharing as much as he did for 36 minutes in the speech. It doesn't surprise me that he would go on more than an hour. 3 hours is a different story.
And he was on a time crunch because that's when they had said publicly who was going to be in the Hall of Fame. So he had to go do public appearances. And we blew right through his self-imposed. He's like, I'll be late. Who cares?
Did you learn something about him?
I learned a lot about him. And to get, really it applies to all these guests. We all see them and we think whether it's Gretzky or Aikman, life is perfect. And you realize everybody in this world has stumbled, fallen, and picked themselves back up. And Brett talked about the pain pill addiction. He talked about his relationship with his dad, which was way more complicated than I think we were all aware of. So he goes into all that, and it's good. These people come there ready to share, and I think it's kind of cathartic. They get up, and it's almost like a session with a shrink, and then they feel good about what they gave, and the audience is they're lapping it up.
You got Torrey this year, Singletary, Joe Theismann. I think I saw.
Sugar Ray Leonard was great.
Okay. You've got Lynn Swann, I think I saw in one of your promos.
LaRussa, did we say LaRussa?
No.
Kelly Slater, Kerry Walsh Jennings.
It's good stuff, man. That's on Undeniable at 8 Eastern Time every Wednesday, premiering with Brett Favre coming up on Audience this Wednesday. LaRussa, years and years and years ago, I was at one of your charity golf tournaments, and he was pissed at me because McGuire retired and sent a fax to me as opposed to going to the Cardinals.
I remember that. Yeah.
He came up to me and he gave me so much grief for that sort of thing. He's an intense fellow.
He's intense. And, you know, when he showed up in St. Louis, I was doing the day-to-day for the Cardinals.
Yep.
The first game was in New York at Shea Stadium. And in Oakland, he had, I guess, kind of forced out whoever was supposed to do his manager show every day. And Tony was so gifted that he could just grab the mic and go for a minute and a half about last night's game. But all these manager shows are all sponsored. And I showed up. I said, you know, we haven't talked about this. Do you want me to interview you for your show, or are you going to do it yourself? And he said, why don't we see how today goes, and then we'll go from that. I'm like, oh, God.
If you ever saw him before a game, how you doing? Well, ask me up to 9 innings. Yeah, right. Yeah.
But that's what made him the intense grinder, great manager that he was. And sometimes he ground guys down. They couldn't take it. I mean, he didn't have the best relationship with everybody, but I'd put my money on him to get the best out of a roster.
Last Thursday, I think it was, we did this day in history of Caru's 3,000th hit and Seaver's 300th win, same day. And
LaRussa was there.
The manager for Seaver's 300th win was LaRussa, but LaRussa got ejected in the fourth inning for arguing with the umpire.
I didn't know that.
So he said he watched it, though, on the steps. He said, they can only find me once, is what he said in the ninth inning.
Well, the one thing you know about Tony, and it's true with a lot of these greats for whatever they do, he has a genuine love for the game and the history of the game. That's why he liked being in St. Louis as much as he did and really wanted to be around Red Schoendienst and Lou Brock and Bob Gibson and all these guys. He brought them back, and he had a reverence. There was a reverence there for that organization, and I think he did it really proud.
Yeah, you forget that he was a White Sox manager for all those years
before
he took over.
And he was a kid, and he really wasn't, by his own admission, ready for it. But he just kind of figured it out, and then became, he's a Hall of Fame manager.
Well, I love watching this. I love watching you do it because I already know what you do and how you do it in a booth. Which is remarkable how great you are doing it while you're also hating against both teams at the same time. You're that talented, Joe.
Yes.
And then to see you sit down and do the Q&A stuff, it's really great.
It's fun. It's fun for me to do a different side of this business and exercise muscles that I don't get a chance to exercise very often. And sometimes people are like, "Oh, I didn't know you could do that," and I like that.
And it's good that muscles lets you exercise them.
Yes.
You
very
like
well
that?
done.
There in the audience channel.
Where's the great Chris
everybody.
Long?
He's the
benching
best.
somewhere.
Sure.
Okay.
We are back in 60 ticks of the clock. I want to ask you our poll question whether you think A-Rod's a Hall of Famer.
Okay.
That's called a tease.
Yeah.
We're back in a minute's time.
I do.
No, you blew the tease. All right, we'll find out why. I just want to tease something. Joe Buck when we come back here in a minute on the Rich Eisen Show.
And I'll take my shirt off.
David Spade, hour 3. Tease. Brett Favre, that's the way he started his speech on Saturday night, the first.
He looks like he could.
You know what? And then after, when he stopped by the NFL Network set, Joe, we asked him again, just because, it's my job to stir it up, maybe. And I asked him, how many snaps could you give me? And he said, probably about 30. I'll give you 30.
I guarantee you he could play.
Well, he said he could. He said, I don't know if I would, but he definitely could, is what he said.
Yeah, once he shaved off the Duck Dynasty beard, he looks like he's in shape. It's impressive.
And Law asked you in our commercial break if you ever called an event that was canceled due to field conditions or something like that. But
no.
But your answer was pretty classic.
Well, I've called a U.S. Open where we didn't know what the score was.
That's unbelievable.
Down the stretch. Is Dustin Johnson leading by 2-1? Is he tied?
It's unbelievable.
Let's all find out at the end. But he played great. Thank God.
That would have been great if they basically said, actually, he wins. But problem is we were doing Stableford the whole time.
Exactly.
So let's now redo the math.
Yeah.
Carry the one.
I don't. It was odd, let's say, but he took everybody off the hook by playing great after he was hit with this. Well, we may be penalizing you at the end of the day, and we'll find out when you get off 18.
Yeah, and Law was living and dying because he really was Shane Lowry at that day. He really was Lowry, by the way. If you see him,
I see it. Yeah,
he's got.
I see it.
He's sort of like if Lowry.
Good playing.
People say if Lowry and Liev Schreiber had a child.
Oh yes. Yes.
That'd be Chris Law.
A truly disturbed individual.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a very good Marv right there. I like that.
Yeah.
So,
yes, he should be. He should be.
Let me ask the question.
Okay.
The poll question.
Yes.
On the Rich Eisen Show app, which you can get on the Apple App Store and Google Play.
I have it.
Chris Brockman, please let Joe Buck know what's on the app.
Would you vote for Alex Rodriguez for the Hall of Fame, Joe?
Yes.
You would.
Yes, but they don't ask for my vote, so anybody who disagrees with that doesn't have to worry about it.
Well, it's okay. That's your opinion. But why? I would say no. I have no idea how many of the 696 was fueled by something other than his desire.
Well, I also have no idea of anybody else who's going to go into the Hall of Fame after X year, X date, who's done what? We know about Alex Rodriguez. I think the stream of known steroid and performance-enhancing drug use, not just in baseball, but across sports, the known stream is so small compared to the actual stream. And in his time, how many guys were juiced up throwing it to him? I mean, the number 2 guy all time in RBIs and a guy who's knocking on the door 700 home runs, was a terrific shortstop when he was playing shortstop. I get people don't like him and all that stuff and the perception of him, but based on numbers, if anybody's going to go in they might as well just shut it down. Because if a guy like D. Gordon, who played for the Dodgers, now plays for the Marlins, is guilty of performance-enhancing drug use, he is not a big man. We don't know what anybody's done. So to sit on the hillside and pick off guys and say, well, he did it, we know he did it, and he didn't, and he did, and he didn't, it's impossible. It's naive.
So
it's
just
dumb.
let them all in? It doesn't matter if they admit it?
At some point, you're going to have to, we're going to have a whole chunk, a decade of players that are going to have question marks around them. I think at some point they go into the Hall of Fame.
Our answer to it is to put on the plaque that if part of their story, even if they were not found guilty of it, what we would put on Bonds' plaque that he was taken to court.
Tried and acquitted.
That part of his plaque would have that sort of thing on it.
Yeah, okay, great. And you're going to put amphetamine use on other guys?
Yeah, greenies. I mean, how many of
Is
them?
there more performance-enhancing drug than taking amphetamines before games? I mean, those guys lived on those in the 60s and the 70s. So, I mean, I get it, but, you know, it's up to the sports writers, the baseball writers, to let people in and keep people out. And at some point, they're going to have to examine who's going to go in for the next, well, for the rest of time, in my opinion.
It's the dulcet tones of Joe Buck, who's undeniable. Season 2's on Audience Wednesday, August
How about that
10th
for a
at 8
hot
Eastern.
take?
It's a hashtag hot take. If you keep talking like that, we're going to have to split screen and have a topic bar at the bottom of the screen, Joe.
And a moderator.
You're going to have, well, I mean, we've got a couple of them over
Yeah,
there.
okay, we'll get them over here.
We might have to hashtag it.
Okay.
And really do
Hashtag
it.
hot take.
Yes.
Sizzle.
Embrace debate.
Well, I mean, we do that anyway.
Yeah, of
I think that goes without saying.
Embrace
We
the
embrace the
hate.
debate. So who is A-Rod? Who did you find him to be whenever you interviewed him or were around
I
him?
personally, and maybe I take that approach because I like him as a guy. I think he's always been a guy that's been desperate to be loved, as sappy as that sounds. But when he got the deal in Texas, I think part of him was crushed under the weight of expectation, and he just couldn't avoid stepping in the puddle seemingly every time. So, you look at the back of the New York Post and good roidance or whatever it said.
Good roidance. Yeah, that was the good
Genius.
That was the headline in
So
New York
I just
today.
think there are a lot of people on that list, a lot we don't know about, a lot we'll never know about, and it's just too hard to start differentiating when we don't have all the facts.
Right. And Ichiro, he had 3,000 hits right now.
Incredible. I mean,
He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Would you not agree?
absolutely, and he's like Gwynn in that I've talked to guys that played with Ichiro that said if he wanted to be a power guy, his hand-eye was so good. If he wanted to be a pull hitter, he could be a pull hitter. If Tony Gwynn wanted to be a power guy, or instead of wearing out the hole between short and third, he wanted to pull it between first and second, he could have done it. But they're that good, and Ichiro is just a freak. His hand-eye is beyond.
Joe Buck here on the Rich Eisen Show. So what is the rest of your, I guess, August like before you get started
A
with
lot of
Fox?
antiquing.
Yeah? Where do you go antiquing with Michelle? Where do
We
you
like to
Michelle, go
walk
antiquing?
around and just see what catches our eye.
Or do you just call it teaking?
Teaking.
As the kids call it.
Honey, let's go teaking this weekend.
Okay. And she knows what that means?
She knows what that means.
Okay.
And other than that, shooting more Undeniable.
When are you doing that?
The end of August, early September.
Okay. Now, where's the cut line on Undeniable?
It's hard. It moves.
It's
The cut line moves. But I don't know what makes somebody undeniable. If Chris Long says, he's undeniable, then he's undeniable.
Yeah. Our chief here, our fearless leader here at
Yes.
Audience. So now, but in terms of that, though, do you get together? Vince Vaughn, who's an executive producer on this, does Vince have a say on who's
Yeah, we
undeniable?
all kind of have a say. We have our own little committee of who's undeniable.
Yeah, but it's always got to be either a Bear or someone from Notre
yeah,
Dame.
he's very Chicago-centric.
I mean, or
very eccentric.
maybe it's
very
one of those
spastic.
Maybe it's one of those things that you just know whether somebody's undeniable on sight, right? You just
Yeah.
know it when you see it.
Right. Any one named athlete is undeniable. Michael,
I'm glad you said athlete,
Wayne.
because then we could throw a Charo in there.
Oprah.
Oprah. Why don't you expand it?
I'd like to.
Why don't you expand
How
it?
great would it be to get Oprah on that couch? Oprah, tell me.
Well, you mean you need to finish that sentence. You know
What?
what I mean? How great would it be to get Oprah on
Well,
that?
I'm asking you.
Oh, okay.
Would it be great?
Oh, God. Yeah, well, that's for, and then you should give away cars.
Oh,
Just
look under
rip
your
her off.
seat.
Just rip it off.
Everybody gets an escort.
Yes.
Yeah, and an
That's
escort can
undeniable.
be taken a lot of different ways.
Okay. That's true.
Yeah,
Now we're going full circle back to rising and grinding.
yeah.
you do
My
every-
wife says hi.
Well, say hi back. My wife says hi to you, too. Isn't this wonderful?
This is really
This
putrid.
is great. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
You're a good man, Joe. You're a good man.
Yeah, so we got the Bosa thing. I'm with you, by the way.
Okay. Am I wrong?
I mean, Mom probably shouldn't chime in on Facebook, but that's
she's
the
a
world we
mom.
live in. I know.
she's a mom.
But get it done.
Am I wrong?
Get it done. No, you're not.
But again, you and I are. Would you refer to? We refer to Joe as an on-air talent too, right?
Absolutely.
I don't like that phrase, by the way.
On-air talent, off-air jerk.
That's who.
That's how I'm typically described.
That's how you're. No, you're not.
Yes.
Stop saying that. But when it all comes down to it, I think that management needs to move that line
I agree.
to get him
I
in.
agree.
Who
Yeah.
wins the Super Bowl this year? What do you got for me? Who's in Houston when it's all said and done?
It's a good question. I think
I
the
only ask
Packers.
those.
The Packers will represent the NFC
Okay.
with a lot of noise from the Vikings. I think the Vikings are going to be a fun team to watch.
They're poised.
They're poised. They had a good draft. I think Bridgewater another year.
Okay.
But if you got to pick somebody, I'll take Green Bay with Jordy Nelson back.
And then who's in the AFC?
I don't know. I'd have a tough time betting against Belichick and Brady
Again,
and
no
being
question.
picked off and doing the "Here we come, you can't stop us" tour.
Of that, there is no question. There is no doubt in my
Yeah.
mind
I could see that.
that Brady comes back against
And
Cleveland
goes nuts.
and RG3 was just named the starter.
Yes.
In Cleveland.
Was that a big surprise?
No, but they can't just hand it over to him after what happened in Washington, D.C.
Right.
Have to at least make him earn it through an off-season workout program and about 3
fake
seconds of training
competition.
camp. Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to prop it up. In
Well,
that
they
regard.
won't be. I don't think Cleveland's going to represent the AFC, but
No.
heck, it's the NFL.
No,
Who
but
knows?
I think that when it's all said and done, New England comes out and does what New England does, and that it's going to be either a resurgent Colts team or the Steelers that give them a
Yeah,
scare.
and we've got the Steelers a couple of times. They've got a Dallas at Pittsburgh game, which will be cool if Dallas is good. How about Dallas? I mean, they can't. What is going on there?
Has Aikman gotten a call?
It's like I don't know.
To be Romo's number 2? I
Or
mean,
his workout partner?
something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I have
I
a
don't
feeling
know.
they
It's like the Bermuda Triangle of the NFL.
the Spinal Tap drummer.
It is.
Is
A
the way I
little
want to
green globule.
They need to go to 11.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you for coming on,
that it?
Joseph. Yeah. Unless you have anything else you care
Nope,
to add.
got nothing.
Okay, very good.
Yep.
Joe Buck, the multiple Emmy Award-winning broadcaster of Fox Sports, Undeniable Season 2 premieres this very Wednesday, August 10th at 8 Eastern with good old Brett Favre. David Spade still to come. Same with Lou Piniella will join
Show's
us
going to get a lot better.
in hour number 3.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.